So if you're anything like me, you are probably still obsessed with Hit Me Hard and Soft by Billie Eilish. This album is one of my favorites of 2024, and I have been itching to do a video about it, so here we are. The album is titled Hit Me Hard and Soft, and when you listen to the album and you hear the vibe and the idea that Billie Eilish and Finneas are going for here, it becomes clear why it's named that through the way that she has opposite voices and opposite vibes, either from song to song or even within the song. You'll notice that there is a softer side to some of her songs where she uses a breathy voice, her head voice, and the instruments are more likely going to be guitar, acoustic. And then there's another side to this album where she uses her chest voice, she uses more of her vocal range in her chest voice. Billie Eilish as a whole, especially when she first started getting popular, was known for her breathy and quiet and mumbly voice. Almost all of her songs from before this album and definitely before Happier Than Ever, Billie Eilish is heard with a very soft toned voice, almost like a whisper sing. And in this album, she switches between the two. She has this whisper singing voice in some of her songs and in some parts of her songs that I would categorize as the soft sections. And then she has her more powerful voice that comes from deep within her, which is like the hard sections, hit me hard and soft. There's these two very intense feelings that you can get, intense heartbreak and intense love that you can feel within the course of a relationship. Assigning these two words to parts of the music that feel one way or another in very jarring ways represents the way that Billie Eilish was feeling as she went about her relationship and as she ended the relationship. In the next part, I wanted to discuss and analyze the underwater theme that is heard throughout the album and also seen throughout the visuals that she's portrayed to be in this Hit Me Hard and Soft world. The album cover is, of course, her slowly sinking underwater, reaching for a door. And so if you listen to this album from Skinny to Blue, like from start to finish, it feels as if each track is falling deeper and deeper underwater. And this is a metaphor for the relationship that she was just in. The most notable recurring theme that's heard in this album is the recurring string motif. It's heard 3 times. There's a string melody at the end of Skinny, which is the first track, and then there's the same motif played at the end of Blue, which is the last track. The underwater theme and how maybe the vocals feel like she's singing from underwater, the way that she hums throughout the songs, there's always these little hums that she uses, the way she repeats lyrics under melodies, and the way that she puts 2 songs in one. Especially towards the end of the album, there are a few songs where there are 2 parts to the song, but they're squished together into one song. So, starting with the first track, Skinny. This is a very soft song. She's using a very breathy voice, and like I was saying about the recurring string motif, and if we have that as a marker point at the end of Skinny to the end of Blue, which is the last song where you hear the string motif again, then Skinny is part of it that's left out. And I think that this is because Skinny is an overview. Skinny is a reflection of the relationship that she's describing in this album. This whole album is meant to be looking back on this relationship that she's talking about, but as if we were there with her. Skinny is like an author's note. The motifs that I was talking about serve as like the front page and the end page, like the covers of the story. And you can also see this through the way that the lunch beat starts playing before Skinny ends. In Skinny, she also talks about being a bird in a cage. This is also another recurring theme that you can find throughout the album. It's sort of the same as the underwater metaphor. As we move on to Lunch, you can hear some humming as well. I think that might just be a Billie Eilish-ism, but it also, to me, feels very Hit Me Hard and Soft. Lunch, I don't have much to say about this song. It's a very good song. It's meant to be a hit. It is the length that hits usually are, and it doesn't switch up its vibe halfway through like some of the other songs here. It has a very clear, singable melody. It's her being in the honeymoon phase of a relationship where she wants to eat that girl for lunch. CHIHIRO has some humming, and this is where I started thinking about the humming as part of a cohesive narrative of the way that this project flows. It's because there's humming at the end that is very reminiscent of the hums in Birds of a Feather, and even if it's something as little as like a she does this to keep a consistent feel throughout. There needs to be some ground level to make an album a concept album. Now, CHIHIRO is where it gets interesting because this song is about finding red flags in a relationship but choosing to ignore them. She has this line that she says, "Open up the door for me." And because there's a door on the album cover, it can be presumed that the door that she wants to be open is the one on the cover that's just out of reach. Like she's falling deeper and deeper into the relationship, falling deeper and deeper underwater, but she's still reaching for the door because she sees the red flags, she sees what could go wrong in this relationship, but she's letting herself drown in it anyway. This song has a mix of soft versus hard. It hits you hard at the 2:04 mark and at the 4:24 mark. These points in the song, there's just that feeling that you get when you're underwater and your ears have water in them. You can hear things from above the water level and it just feels muffled. This is the point in the relationship where she has to make the decision between opening up the door and going back to the door or sinking further down into the relationship. We also have a moment where she's repeating lyrics. When she says, "wringing my hands in my lap," after she says that section of the piece, it moves on to another section, but you can still hear those lyrics playing in the background because it's supposed to echo through you. It's supposed to feel like waves washing over you. It's something that you're constantly thinking about. You can't get rid of it. So if CHIHIRO was where she's thinking about if she should stay in the relationship or not, Birds of a Feather is where she decides to stay. The idea of Birds of a Feather comes from her being happy about being a bird in a cage. Like she said before in Skinny. Overall, Birds of a Feather is a very soft and happy feeling song. But when the song gets to 2 minutes and 46 seconds, there's this jarring vocal line that hits you hard. These vocals are deep from within her chest, where she screams out, "Till the day that I die." It is a very loud chest voice where she is expressing her love in a very loud way, and it's hitting us hard. The harmonies in this song do a very cool thing where they are below the main melody line. So the main melody line is the highest vocal part, and this makes the listener feel like they're being lifted up or they're flying, which adds to the Birds of a Feather theme. To me, I think that it's supposed to signify the feeling of forgetting that you're sinking further underwater and deeper in love in this relationship because of the feeling of being in love that makes you feel like you're being lifted up. Next, we have Wildflower. This is mainly about a friendship that breaks because of the relationship. From what I gathered, it seems to be about how Billie was friends with this woman and she was in a relationship with the person that Billie is singing about throughout the entire album. And because of Billie's choice to be in a relationship with this person, she loses her friendship with this woman. Wildflower switches between hitting you soft and hitting you hard multiple times. It starts out very soft and then it hits you hard at 2 minutes and 27 seconds, and then it goes back to being soft at 3 minutes and 23 seconds. As I said before, I categorize this through the way that she uses her voice and the way that Finneas programs the instruments and the feeling that they're trying to evoke with these tools. This also has a part where they're repeating vocals. The melody that is being repeated is first hidden underneath another melody. The part where she starts to sing Valentine's Day, crying in the hotel, is hidden underneath another portion of Wildflower, but comes back in the outro. She's thinking about it and it's softer in her head before she actually says it out loud. Next we have The Greatest, which has the vocal manifestation of the Skinny string melody. Because this melody is something that keeps coming back, start, middle, and end, it represents something that's bothering her, something that's in the back of her mind. And it's made to represent not being able to stop thinking about someone. It's a very clear manifestation of a crush. When you have a crush on someone, it's always in your mind. You're always thinking about that person. And this melody represents that well because it's just something that keeps coming back, something that keeps itching to be told. She's constantly thinking about this person, and that is being manifested through the string melody turning into a vocal melody in The Greatest and back into an instrumental melody in Blue. The Greatest also shifts from the hard versus soft theme. It starts out soft, but while this is happening, around the 1 minute mark, there are vocals that are supposed to be heard as hard vocals, like chest voice vocals, and it feels out of place within the landscape of the song. But these also come back at the 2-minute and 45 mark, and they're less muffled, these hard themed vocals. So it's just representing the way that she wants to yell, she has something to say, and it's eating away at her in the beginning. And then when we get to the 2-minute and 45 mark, they're still there, but they're less muffled and they're about to break through. And then at the 3-minute and 14-second mark, the entire song turns into something that I would categorize as hitting the listener hard in the context of this album. At 4 minutes and 14 seconds, we go back to the soft feeling that was started. So this song is a journey that would look like a hill, and the drop off is much steeper than the start was. It was something that was gradually building, and then we finally got to the top, and she was able to let out all the things that she was wanting to say earlier, and then we just fall back into the soft nature that was created at the beginning of the song. Then in L'amour de ma vie, this is the first instance where Billie does 2 songs in one. There's L'amour de ma vie versus Over Now. L'amour de ma vie is about the hostility she's feeling towards the person that she was just talking about being in a relationship with. We start out in like this soft feeling that was ended in the greatest. We continue that same soft feeling until we get to 3 minutes and 49 seconds where Over Now starts, and it starts to hit the listener hard again. At this point, it hints that the girl from WILDFLOWER that she was talking about in that song, that she broke off a friendship with because of the relationship, it hints that her and that girl were also in a relationship. In the diner, it's a very stalkery song, but to me it feels like a reflection, trying to figure out where she went wrong in the context of the relationship and how she could have made it work. This song has hard chest voice vocals with soft head voice vocals as ad-libs, so it's a mixture of both. It's the uncertainty that you get after ending a relationship. The going back and forth between these two major emotions represents the opposing ways that heartbreak and love feel, how different it feels, but also the similarity of how intense both of those feelings are. So Bittersweet is another song that has 2 songs in one, and the idea of the 2 songs in one is mixing the hard versus soft. The first portion of Bittersweet is hard to categorize because it has elements of both the hard and the soft that were both established in the beginning of this album. So now that we're reaching the end, mixing those 2 feelings together is muddling what we thought it was supposed to be in the beginning. So at 1:37, to me that's very clearly a soft section, and it's about how her dreams are manipulating her, which makes sense as to why it's hard to categorize this song into one thing and why there's multiple sections to this full song. She desperately wants to move on, but her subconscious won't let her, which makes me think that hard versus soft is about many things. It's about the subconscious mind versus your conscious mind. It's about heartbreak versus love. It's about how she feels about herself, and the underwater theme is also about many things as well. It's about sinking deeper and deeper into her mind, sinking deeper and deeper into her subconscious, sinking deeper and deeper into a relationship and how that relationship manipulates her mind and changes the way she feels about things, even after it's over. And following this underwater theme, around the 3-minute mark, the vocals seem to be coming in waves. It feels as if it's ebbing and flowing, it's coming in and out to mimic how it feels to be in the water. At 4:03, it switches to hitting the listener hard again, and then it goes through the blue melody, which is another instance of where Billie is introducing the next song before it happens. There are a few references in here to other songs. We have the L'amour de ma vie reference where she actually says that line, and then Open Up the Door for Me, which is a reference to CHIHIRO. So if this is all taking place in her subconscious, and it's her subconscious trying to manipulate her to get back with her ex and trying to manipulate the way that her mind feels about this relationship, the blue melody at the end could mean that she's waking back up to the harsh reality of the relationship being over. She's not thinking straight, and her dreams are telling her things that her awake mind doesn't actually want, and it's starting to jumble up her thoughts, and it's feeling very distant and weird. And at the end of Bittersweet, there are these whispers that you can hear where Billie is saying something. And there are lyrics out there on Spotify and on Genius, but they're both different, and no one's coming up with the same idea of what it is, and that is the point. You're not supposed to know what it is. It represents how she's thinking in the dreams, how she's thinking after the dreams, how she's feeling in real life, and how she's sinking deeper underwater. It mimics the feeling of so many different disorienting, weird feelings that we get. And then it takes us into Blue. Blue is another 2-part song. In the first part, True Blue. This is where all the references to every song are made. She says Birds of a Feather, referencing the song Birds of a Feather. Désolé mon amour, I Told You a Lie, which are both references to L'amour de ma vie. I'm Trying My Best, a reference to The Greatest. Open Up the Door, which is a reference to CHIHIRO. In the Back of My Mind, which is a reference to Wildflower. I'm Still Overseas is a reference to Bittersweet. Bird in a Cage is once again a reference to Skinny. I'm Not What You Need is a reference to The Diner. And I Thought You Were Made for Me is a reference to Lunch. And then in Born Blue section, there's a few more references. The repeated lyrics of It's Over Now, referencing L'amour de ma vie at the end of Blue. And she also talks about how she's sleeping 3 hours each night, which I think could be a reference to Bittersweet, where she's talking about her dreams. And the reason why she might be sleeping so little is because she's avoiding these dreams that she mentioned in Bittersweet. And to wrap up this song and to wrap the album, we have the final Skinny / The Greatest melody to bookend the piece. It shows that this is all interconnected and Blue is just the final chapter to this piece. And it's over now. It intertwines not only lyrics that we've already heard, but melodies that we've heard throughout the whole thing that signify certain characters within this story. I love the way that she uses outro songs to show that this is a collective piece and a whole story to listen to. Anyway, this is more of a think piece on Hit Me Hard and Soft. I mainly just wanted to show you what I found, these cool aspects of this album and little Easter eggs and hints at what was actually happening in her life and how it all came together, and a little bit of analysis throughout the thing because I can't help myself. I hope you like this. I had a really fun time making it. Thank you for getting this far, and bye!